Good evening and welcome to the October 1st special study meeting of the Troy Planning Commission. Copies of the agenda for tonight's meeting are available at the entrance to the room. Additionally, the agendas and minutes of prior meetings are available on the city's website. The meeting will be conducted in accordance with the agenda as presented or amended by the Planning Commission. The roles and responsibilities of the Planning Commission are outlined on the reverse side of tonight's agenda. State law establishes planning commissions. The commission is comprised of 9 members, all of whom have volunteered to serve. Members are appointed by the mayor and confirmed by city council. The other individuals seated at the table this evening are representatives of the city's planning department, the city attorney's office, and the city's planning consultant, Carlisle Wortman Associates. If you wish to address the planning commission, please come forward when recognized and provide your name and address on the sign-in sheet. Please begin your remarks by stating your name for the benefit of the commissioners. All remarks are to be addressed to the Planning Commission and not to anyone else in the room. At this time, I ask that all cell phones, Blackberries, PDAs, or any other devices that might disrupt this meeting, please either be placed in silent mode or be turned off. Mr. Savinant, the roll call, please.
Ms. Cruz.
Here.
Mr. Edmonds.
Here.
Mr. Gottlieb.
Here.
Mr. Hudson.
Yes.
Mr. Krent.
Here.
Mr. Sanzika. Mr. Shepke. Mr. Stratt.
Here.
Mr. Tagle. Mr. Chairman, let the record show we have 6, so we have a quorum.
Thank you. Item 2 is the approval of the agenda. Can I have a motion, please? Mr. Stratt, and a support. Mr. Gottlieb.
Mr. Edmonds.
Yes.
Mr. Gottlieb.
Yes.
Mr. Hudson.
Yes.
Mr. Krent.
Yes.
Mr. Stratt.
Yes.
Ms. Cruz.
Yes.
Item 3 is public comment for items that are not on the agenda. Is there anyone in the audience who wants to speak to items that are not on the agenda? Seeing no one, we'll move on to the preliminary site plan review. File number SP 997, proposed Kresge Foundation headquarters expansion, south side of Big Beaver, west of Coolidge, 3215 West Big Beaver, Section 30. Currently zoned BB, Big Beaver District.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Carlisle will present will do a brief summary of the item. Mr. Barker from Valero DeWalt Train will do a kind of summarize the project. I just want to kind of give a brief 1,000-yard overview of why we're here. So an application was submitted some time ago for this addition to the Kresge headquarters, and a building permit was inadvertently granted to allow construction prior to receiving preliminary site plan approval. I'm not saying this to point fingers or anything. We're all partners in this, the Planning Commission, the applicant, the staff, we're all partners. We're moving forward. We have identified what happened. We've ensured it's not going to happen again. We move forward. We're here this evening to consider a preliminary site plan application. Basically, the construction that was started, the job was actually shut down on Thursday about 3 o'clock. Kresge's cooperated. They've done what they've had to do to the site to make it safe and whatnot. They still have a inactive construction site in a hole there. We want to move forward, and we want them to move forward. So again, we're partners trying to move forward, and I want to just thank you on the Planning Commission members that were able to attend tonight. Just thank you on the record for taking time out of your busy weeks to come and hear this item. So with that being said, Mr. Carlisle will take over.
Thank you. I have a very, very brief kind of introduction to the project. I understand the turnaround for the Planning Commission was rather short on this. The applicant is here to go into more detail in regards to the project. So a quick overview. The Kresge Foundation on Big Beaver is requesting approval of a 2-story, 16,000 square foot addition. The addition will be located on the west side of their existing building. The expansion, in terms of architectural character, does match the existing building. The applicant has brought material samples for the Planning Commission's review tonight. In addition, the applicant is keeping what I have deemed the green theme kind of the campus. So they are incorporating naturalized stormwater management and those kind of green practices in their addition to match the existing building and campus. In regards to the expansion and its location, it does meet all zoning requirements. The only requirement it does not meet is that it doesn't meet the build-to line on Big Beaver. However, the existing building does not meet the build-to line on Big Beaver, which is a 10-foot setback line. The applicant is moving their addition closer to Big Beaver, so they're making essentially the building and site less non-conforming, so this can be approved by the Planning Commission in their current proposed location of the addition. The applicant meets all requirements in regards to landscaping and lighting. The only other major issue for the Planning Commission to consider is parking. Based on a 16,000 square foot addition, the applicant would be required to provide 53 parking spaces on site. However, based on data from the applicant in terms of their operations currently, as well as a parking study provided by the applicant, they note that they only need 38 additional parking spaces. So they're asking for a parking reduction of 15 spaces. The applicant has secured 38 parking spaces from the adjacent property owner on the sides of them. 3 are going to be located on the west of the addition, and the 35 are going to be located on the east of the addition. We do find that and feel that lease really is a good solution to address parking on the site, because really there's no physical way to put additional parking on their current site based on their configuration. We have noted and have talked with the applicant that if additional parking is ever needed in the future, they can amend that lease to add additional parking in the future moving forward. We do note that the existing building that they are getting lease parking from does have an excess amount of parking, so this really is a good solution for both parties to address the parking for the addition. The applicant does meet all the applicable Big Beaver design standards and design requirements, and so in summary, we do recommend approval of the preliminary site plan approval, provided that the Planning Commission does grant the parking waiver of 15 parking spaces. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Carlisle? If not, is the applicant present? Please come in and stand up and sign in.
My name is Alan Barker. The architect. I'm with Valerio DeWalt Train Associates in Chicago, Illinois. So I would like to thank all of you for putting together this meeting at such short notice. We're happy to be back in Troy. The firm completed the original edition of the Kresge Foundation in 2006, and so we're happy that we were asked back by the foundation to design this new edition. And to be a part of the design legacy of Eastern Michigan.
Thank you. Anything else further you have to add? Or is there any questions from the Planning Commission for the architect?
We have 5 slides on the screen. I could walk through that and just kind of expand upon the building a little bit more. So this is from Big Beaver Road. You can see the farmhouse on the left. So this is west of the farmhouse. As Mr. Carlisle mentioned, it's a 16,000 square foot addition. The building is 2 stories, but one of those stories is below ground. It's below grade, similar to the current addition, and we achieve that with a retaining wall on the west side. So what's seen here as a stone wall is actually a retaining wall as you move south onto the site. And then the big feature that's seen here is a convening space, and that space is to hold all staff meetings once a week, and then other seminar type events from time to time. And then addressing Big Beaver Road a little bit more is the north patio, and then a green screen. So you can see the green screen here in the foreground. We can go to the next slide. This is a view from the other side. So we wanted to do a couple of things here With the architecture, we want to continue the same architectural language with the metal panel and glass, the stone as well. The existing office has blue-gray granite Gabion walls, loose stone as a part of the retaining wall. We've used that same stone and included that in a masonry facade of stone on the west wall. And then with this north patio, we want to do two things. We want to address Big Beaver a little bit more and occupy that space, and then at the same time with the green screen, screen it a little bit so we soften the impact of such a big volume on Big Beaver Road. Next slide. This is from the southwest. You can see the windmill poking up above. So on the far right is the current office building, and centered basically on the left is the new addition. So you can see the retaining wall in the foreground, and then beyond that is the lower level, and currently that's a constructed wetland. So as Mr. Carlisle was saying, the original building in 2006 was LEED Platinum, and so while we're not pursuing LEED certification here, we're using many of the existing features, including the constructed wetlands down in the courtyard, the lower level. We have a new bioswale on the west side of the building, high-efficiency glass, and renewable materials throughout the building. Next slide. Again, just to reiterate the level change to the left, up and to the left, you can see that's up at grade, and then we slope down to these existing constructed wetlands. Existing building on the right, the new building on the left, we wanted to keep the same character, similar volumes. The program is a little bit different. We have a little bit more dense office and meeting room spaces. So the form obviously responds to that a little bit, but we've here we're looking at the south patio, so there is going to be actually occupied outdoor space here because we wanted to again bring the outdoors into the office building. And then an overhead view, Big Beaver up at the top of the page. The existing building is in the center and then stretching out to the right. You can see those two volumes that we were just looking at with the constructed wetlands in front and the farmhouse at Big Beaver Road. This rendering is a little outdated. You can see the convening space is the higher volume up at the top of the page on the north side of our extension, and then you see two mechanical enclosures on the roof. We have been able to consolidate that into one mechanical enclosure, so the southernmost mechanical enclosure is there. We just have a larger unit inside. The northern enclosure has gone away, so that the single mechanical enclosure is going to be clad with the same metal panel system that clads the rest of the building.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
Mr. Barker, could you hold up the metal panel that's over there on the table just to show them what?
This is a pole metal panel system. It's a rain screen system. We have a custom swirl and anodized finish on the existing building, and we'll be matching that on the expansion as well. Could you go back to the previous slide? Maybe the one before that.
Before that?
Yeah.
Well, what I wanted to point out was the existing Gabion walls, and they're really on the east side of the site, so maybe the overhead would be best.
Oh, the overhead?
Yeah, the overhead. In the southeast corner, that's a pretty evident area. There's a long Gabion wall of the mesh cage, and then these are the blue-gray granite Gabion stones that we've placed in there, and so these are very prevalent on the site currently. And our strategy was to reuse the material, but we wanted to do that in a new way, and we knew that we'd be retaining the west side of the site and visually and conceptually holding the west side of that site. And so we took this same stone and we're going to use it in a honed finish. And so it's the same stone, same character. We want to keep with the same material language of the building. So that's this material right here. And then I do also have a sample of what we're proposing for the north patio. It's a pervious paver. And again, it's a very similar color palette, grays and blacks and blues.
Thank you. Any other questions from the Planning Commission for the applicant? I was curious why you, it's such a pristine and LEED platinum site. I heard you say you're not going to pursue that for this new addition. Why not?
It was a decision by the client, and I think a lot of it was financial. They put a lot of money and a lot of effort into the LEED Platinum 2006 edition, and it's done them very well. But it was the process was lengthy and expensive, and so as a strategy, we don't have the same cost per square foot budget for this current edition, and so while they have numerous initiatives for environment and health, and they're very big LEED supporters, we decided that we can employ LEED strategies without actually certifying the building.
Well, that's disappointing, but it's an absolutely beautiful site, and I would encourage any planning commissioners who have never taken a tour of this to try to schedule one, because you will be blown away by all the sustainable developments that they use, even the gray water for the toilets. Will that be used in the new building or not?
No, it will not.
Okay. Very good. Anything else?
Over here.
Yes, Mr. Craig.
What items are you going to include that would be LEED type items? In other words, is it geothermal heating and cooling, or what's going to be used?
No, the existing is geothermal.
Right.
So we don't have space to do that, and we've actually determined it's just as efficient to use a traditional rooftop unit. And I think there's just a very slight energy savings to use geothermal if we had space to do that, but the payback was enormously long. So the size, the small size of our addition didn't warrant that. So I don't recall the energy numbers right now, but we did an energy analysis, and even with the energy strategy that we are using, that would qualify for LEED points, and that would if we had pursued LEED, it would have helped us along that way.
What are you using besides, okay, the heating? I understand.
Besides it, okay. So we have a bioswale on the west side. So a lot of it is water. It's water management. The bioswale along the west side of the building is filtering water, and then ultimately sending it down into the ponds. And so, if we think about it, the ponds then feed the current gray water system. It is in the existing building, but that contributes to that. We're using high efficiency curtain wall.
Any other comments or questions by Mr. Hudson?
While we're here focusing on parking, I don't think I've got any question about the parking, but I do want to commend you on, well, it's not LEED certified, using some of the same principles in putting this addition. I notice the permeable tiles you've got, which is wonderful. We'd like to encourage more people to do that, so I think it's a good job.
Thank you.
But I don't think they're using the permeable pavers for the additional parking spaces that they're,
Oh, they're not?
no.
We have permeable pavers in the north and south patios,
that's-
not for the parking.
Mr. Scott?
Yeah, I'm just going to ask, the parking is actually to the west, is that correct?
Most of the parking is to the east.
The bioswales that you're talking about, where's the water coming from?
It's coming from the roofs, primarily from the roofs, but also a little bit from the site to the west, but mostly from the roofs.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Bring it back to the Planning Commission for a resolution. Mr. Gottlieb,
Resolution to approve the site
I
plan?
think we need to read it.
Yeah, you got to read it.
In case I need glasses.
It's on page 5 of the packet.
I'm getting there slowly.
Okay.
Yeah, did you like the 65 megabyte file I sent everyone?
That was very nice.
I thought you'd appreciate that.
That was wonderful.
I can't see it.
If Mr. Gottlieb is having trouble reading, I can do it.
If you've got it in front of you, I
do.
relinquish that.
Let me do that.
You go second.
Resolved, the Planning Commission approves relief of off-site parking requirements by supporting the shared parking arrangement with the abutting neighbor as per section 13.06 east of the City of Troy zoning ordinance. Be it further resolved that preliminary site plan approval pursuant to Article 8 of the zoning ordinance as requested for the proposed Kresge Foundation headquarters addition located in the south side of Big Beaver, west of Coolidge, parentheses, 3215 West Big Beaver, end parentheses. Section 30 within the Big Beaver District, BB, be granted subject to nothing.
Second.
Second by Mr. Stratt. Any further discussion? If not, the roll call, please.
Mr. Gottlieb,
Yes.
Mr. Hudson,
Yes.
Mr. Krent,
Yes.
Mr. Stratt. Ms. Cruz,
Yes.
Mr. Evans.
Reluctantly, yes. Okay. We're ready for the next agenda item. Thank you very much.
Got your approval.
You have preliminary site plan approval, and congratulations.
Good luck.
Resume construction, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Okay, item 5 is public comment for any items that are on the current agenda. Seeing no one else in the audience, we can move to item 6, Planning Commission comments. Let's begin with Ms. Cruz today.
The only comment that I would make is what I've seen on the screen here has impressed me. I think I'm going to now have to go schedule a tour of the Kresge building, so good luck.
Mr. Gottlieb.
Nice looking site, and appreciate you guys playing nice in the sandbox.
Mr. Grant? Mr. Grant? Mr. Hudson?
Nothing.
Mr. Motzley?
No, thank you.
Ms. Evans?
I like the idea of touring possibly this site. I think there are some other sites in the city that have implemented sustainable building techniques, and I think we should do a road trip as a planning commission, visit 3 or 4 sites one night.
That would be really good,
Yeah.
especially with new planning commission members.
Yeah, maybe the timing isn't great because the nights are getting a little bit longer, but maybe in the early spring, late spring, when we have more daylight, I think that'd be a great idea.
Very good.
I think you just made yourself in charge.
I just had one comment. I was curious how the Moving Across Troy symposiums went today, the public symposiums.
There was 2 sessions. There was one at 11:30 and there's one at 5. And interestingly enough, and this is a good thing, is people showed up half an hour early for both. So we got there half an hour early to prepare, and we had to jump right in. Ben and I both spent 5 hours today dialoguing and engaging with people that showed up. There was definitely 25 people that were there at the early session, and I would guess there was probably 35 that were there. I don't know the exact number for the later session, but I would say probably 60 people. But everyone who showed up, I think, was rolled up their sleeves and communicated and shared their opinions and ideas, and I think it was really, really successful event. There was a number of planning commissioners that attended this evening, and I think it was a really good event.
Good. That's good. Any bold new ideas?
There are a couple interesting ones that I'd never heard of before. One of them is with conflicts with right-hand turns on red lights. And someone had the idea of like a train, like a gate with a train to raise and lower. Yeah, and it's like, it's a bold idea. I think I don't know how it would be implemented, but it certainly is an interesting concept.
Might be high maintenance.
Might be, yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Carlisle.
Yeah, I just want to thank the Planning Commission for showing up on such short notice. I think that was really impressive.
If nothing further, I think then we are adjourned.